Let me make one point about this. I am extremely sick and tired of this pompous, self-inflated attitude which retroactively condemns people from other eras for failing to have adopted the beliefs and presuppositions of people in our era. All of the people who are issuing these condemnations, all of the people who spend time apologizing for or virtue signaling based on the, quote, racism of people who've been dead for many decades, all these people, the sensitivity readers, the people putting these disclaimers on books, all of these people, all of them, would hold all of those same kinds of beliefs if they lived during that time. All of them would. Now, as I said, most of them do today, just it's directed at a different race of people. But putting that aside, all of these people would be guilty of these historical sins if they happened to have been born slightly earlier on the timeline. I know this because these people have completely and unquestionably adopted all of the prevailing mainstream attitudes and beliefs of our day. Okay, they have shown a willingness to say whatever the culture says they should say and believe whatever the culture says they should believe. The culture tells them that whites are inherently racist. They believe that whites are inherently racist. The culture tells them that women have penises. They believe that women have penises. The culture tells them to wave a rainbow flag. They wave a rainbow flag. The culture tells them to wave a Ukrainian flag. They wave a Ukrainian flag. The culture tells them to wear a mask. They wear a mask. They are disciples of the current thing, and these are our current things. If they happen to live in 1920, the current things would be very different, but they'd be current. And so these people would accept and believe all of those things. See, it requires moral courage and independent thought and finely tuned critical thinking skills to fundamentally question the most ubiquitous beliefs and practices of the age you live in. These people have none of those qualities. They would not have stood a chance. In fact, like we talked about yesterday, very few people prior to the 18th and 19th centuries wanted to see slavery totally abolished. And even the people who did during that time, most of them that wanted, that were abolitionists, would still be considered wildly racist by our modern standards. You don't have to go back much farther than the 18th and 19th century to get to a point in the world where literally nobody was opposed to slavery or racism, where abolitionism and racial equality didn't exist as concepts. And these were not stupid people. In fact, some of the most brilliant human beings in human history lived during this time of many millennia. But they had no problem with racism. They had no problem with slavery. Why? Well, because abolitionism, racial equality, okay, these were movements, are movements, resting upon an ideological and intellectual and spiritual framework that had to be built slowly over the centuries. Someone living in the year 300 couldn't have opposed slavery, certainly couldn't have opposed it for the reasons that we do today at any rate, because they didn't have the language or foundation to formulate and express that opposition. Not because they were dumb, but just because it didn't exist. The point here is that we live at the end of that process, okay? The work has been done for us. We happen to be born into a culture where slavery is universally condemned and racism, again in theory, is abhorred. Okay, it's not by any virtue of ours that we were born during this time. We just were. So who the hell are we to condemn or lecture or censor or edit or add trigger warnings to people who didn't enjoy that same benefit? Who are you, the woke scold, to think that you have any moral high ground to stand on at all? You mindless zombies, you conformist drones, you hive mind insects. You have absolutely no capacity to think outside the contemporary box. Every era has its unique sins. You are guilty of promoting and celebrating all of ours. And so you would have promoted and celebrated all of theirs.